Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 29th of March in the year 2020. And there's a lot of things going on right now. And the strange thing is I've talked to today, it's 3:30 in the afternoon. I've talked to several patriots in this very small town in Wyoming. And you know what's amazing? All of them they understand what's going on as far as this, that, and the other thing. But if what was unfolding in front of us right now was a book, everyone's on a different page. Except for this fella. This fella works for the Defense Department, and he's been consistently sending me information along with his credentials, along with information that he's getting across his desk. Because he's actually a patriot who doesn't have his head shoved in his ass. He's paying attention. Let's take a look at the very first line of this. This comes from at the direction of U.S. Northern Command. Now, all of us first learned that word from Operation Jade Helm. That's the first time we had heard of U.S. Northern Command. And then here it is, March 28th, 2020. They're mobilizing Task Force 42nd, formed by the Military Police Command, 263rd Army Air and Missile Defense Command Headquarters, Task Force 76, formed by the 76th Operational Response Command, 377th Theater Sustainment Command Headquarters, New Orleans, 4th Expeditionary Sustainment, 505th Military Intelligence Brigade. These are the units previously announced. Now, let's not forget that the governor completely activated 10,500 so far. I mean, that was before they announced a million more, but 10,500 infantry troops. Now, infantry, like I have explained to you, myself, Mike Decker, we were
also today, Governor Brian Abbott issued another executive order.
At any rate, so instead of deploying volunteers to deal with this medically or medics, they've deployed infantry soldiers, which myself, Mike, and many others were. 11 Bravo, Fort Benning, Georgia, Sand Hill. They teach you how to carry a lot of weight, walk, and shoot. That's what infantry does. Period. That's what I did. Period. So let's get back to this email from the fellow that works for the Defense Department and the paperwork that he sent me right here. I asked him, he said, if I were an intel analyst giving a briefing to a commander, here's what I would tell him. Jump to the bottom if you want the short answer. But he tells you all this information, blah, blah, blah. Why use these non-medical units? And he explains, but then he says, if you want the long story short, because I asked him that, here it is. Mobilization for an invasion. Now, isn't that crazy? Because I've already said that, and here's somebody who does this for his job. And I didn't even see this. Jade Helm, U.S. Northern Command. So they practiced for this, and we knew this, period. And you know how I know about Jade Helm? Well, this is what I was doing while Jade Helm was going on, if you recall, if you were around. You see this little gem from a long time ago? You see that? Wait till you see what I look like. And nobody watched it. Nobody cared.
With
But during Jade Helm, I was out in the area Jade Helm was being held, and I was trying to get any information I possibly could, and I was sending it back to Professor Doom. Sadly, Professor Doom turned out to be a scumbag, and he disappeared, but whatever. I was still on it. Because I've always been on this. And now, here we see it again. Here's U.S. Northern Command. This is the response to COVID-19, which is complete and total utter bullshit. And here's Jade Helm. You see that? And long story short, he's come up with the same exact answer that I already saw with my own two eyes, because it's obvious, because there is no pandemic. COVID-19 is nothing. And is that my opinion? Nope. It's never been my opinion. I formed my opinion by talking to medical experts and then simply repeated it to you. Medical people in Boston, medical people all over the United States, and all over the world have drawn the same conclusion that COVID-19 is a mild cold. And to go one step further with that, Dr. Kaufman, MD from MIT, sent me this last night. You see this right here? This is from Dr. Andrew Kaufman, MD. Yes, he's a psychologist, but I don't know if you don't understand this or not. He's also an MD, which means he decided to be a psychologist, but he's still a medical doctor, period. And he's been studying this the entire time. You see this one right here on the right? This is what mainstream's telling you. COVID-19, this is the disease. See it? It's killing you. It's going to attack you. Well, I've already told you that after talking and reading ad nauseum about all this stuff all this time, I knew that if you got tested, they will find the COVID-19 disease, they're calling disease, quote unquote, because it's in all of us, and it's called an exosome. And it isn't a disease, it's something that's already in your body that the mainstream, the military-industrial complex, and the elite scum of the earth are calling COVID-19. Exosomes, which are already in your body, COVID-19. Do you understand why I said do not take the test? I said that because it makes sense in the scheme of things of what's going on. And then the doctor found this and sent it and said, you're absolutely right. This is what the fear porn mainstream elitists are telling you is the problem. And this is what's in your body every single day. So when they come with the military and the police, etc., to take a test, we're all going to be positive. We're all going to have to get Bill Gates's biometric tracking ID 2020 to keep us all connected. That'll help us all keep 6 feet apart so we don't spread this massive disease, even though this disease is already in your body and it's nothing. Diseases don't spread in an airborne fashion. If I know that, if Dr. Kaufman knows that, and all these experts know that, then what the F are these guys doing? They're getting everyone to stay in their house while they continue to put all these units being mobilized all over the country right now into place, while everyone sits in the house waiting, afraid of some invisible enemy. Well, how is it that all the troops being activated tie directly into U.S. Northern Command and Jade Helm? Why is it months ago, well, let's call it weeks ago, but months, I told you that's what this was. And here's a military expert that actually works there that sent me all the paperwork that you're looking at right now. This is the exact same conclusion he's drawn. This is what it possibly could be. Here it is. Slow it down, pause it, read it, blah, blah, blah. Door-to-door operations being run in Dallas to get the public used to seeing troops on the ground. And then, it's funny that after all this popped up, all the school shootings stopped, all terrorist activity stopped, everybody stopped. So you're telling me that some madman with a gun that was going to go kill children in a school decided not to because he didn't want to go outside and catch a cold? Or terrorism and world wars have just come to a stop because terrorists were going to come out of their caves and attack more troops in Iraq, but they decided not to because they don't want to catch a cold. The problem is with this entire thing is this is what's really happening while all this is going on. Troops are being put into place. Your dollar is going to be absolutely worthless after all this is over. And this is from England. The UK are rushing through an emergency bill for 2 years and the laws are terrifying. Well, of course the laws are going to be terrifying because this is the New World Order and you will do as you're told. And as a matter of fact, you're doing what you're told right now. Not everybody, so don't take offense. People, it's amazing how sensitive people are when I yell in a video, but they're going to somehow stand up to what's coming. I find that humorous. Unbelievable. These are the laws that are being passed during this pandemic where everyone is in danger of dying, even though everybody's fine. The weather weaponry is picking up, and don't forget about that. They will use weather as a weapon on all sides of the country. If you flood, you will flood. If you get tornadoes, you're going to have epic tornadoes. Hailstones, the size of softballs. Drought, every other thing. They're going to use absolutely everything against us all at one time. Understand that. If you think that this is somehow Trump going door to door in Massachusetts and Rhode Island and New York looking for elite pedophile Satanist assholes, he is one of them. He's best friends with Epstein. That was provable, okay? And here's another little tidbit for you. When you see this, stand by. When you see this in the mainstream, Oh, those tanks people are posting on social media? Don't worry about that. They're just coming back from Iraq. No big deal. No big deal. Because the mainstream is our friend. You know what I'm saying? The mainstream, it wasn't like there was an Event 201 where the mainstream was going to be the main weapon used against people that are stuck in their house staring at the television looking for news.
The line between disinformation and misinformation is not always an easy one to find.
Governments need to be willing to do things that are out of their historical perspective, or for the most part, it's really a war footing that we need to be on.
It can happen quickly. A Marshall-type plan, don't mean to say that exactly, but a Marshall plan that can go into effect can stimulate change very quickly.
The distrust relates to the health system more generally.
A step up from the part of the government on enforcement actions against fake news.
I think a couple of things we have to consider are, even before this began, the anti-vaccine movement was very strong, and this is something specifically through social media that has spread.
Welcome to Event 201.
News. Do you see what I'm saying? When these guys start trying to debunk this, you better pay attention, because when I thought I was showing you the MRAPs, the Bradley fighting vehicles, not the tanks, but now that they're debunking them, well, it looks like tanks are going to be hitting the streets too. If you ever want a future ever in this country, if you think it's acceptable for some scumbag, two-faced, stealing, murdering, lying politicians to tell you that you can't live on this earth unless you stay 6 feet away from somebody else, and they're going to have to give you a biometric chip to make sure you're not breaking that. This is just the very, very first step. Wait till these guys are done. Believe it or don't believe it. Hang on to hope. Believe Alex Jones that this is somehow Q doing something. Let me tell you a little secret about Q. Some of the best people in the anonymous community, if Q were real, they would prove it. Alex Jones is a lying scumbag piece of shit. Pardon my French. But if you don't believe that, listen to how many times he tells you he's in the CIA. He's part of the CIA. He's a plant, people. Q isn't real. We're being taken over right now while everyone sits in their house watching the mainstream. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else to show you. That's just basically all there is to it. In a nutshell, Richie from Boston, and I am out.